Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners alike, members of the media, those who are here present with us in attendance, and those who are joining us through our virtual platforms. Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to this media briefing session held by the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, who is also joined by Mr. Khumbudzo, who is the project manager. Welcome to all of you. Consistent with the undertaking the minister took when she briefed the nation, it was on the 5th of last month, where Minister undertook to brief the nation on an ongoing basis in relation to the progress of this particular project. We are gathered here today so that the minister is able to take the nation into a confidence and bring us up to speed with regard to progress that has been made in relation to this project, which the minister is going to unpack in a few moments. With those few words, I welcome all of you, and I am now going to invite the minister to the podium to deliver her message to the nation. Minister.
Thank you, Tlali. Good afternoon to all of you, and good afternoon to all South Africans. On the 5th of October 2021, I briefed South Africans about our revised integrated broadcast digital migration and analog switch-off implementation plan that was approved by Cabinet and committed to monthly updates on the progress with the implementation. I'm glad to announce that South Africa is firmly on the path for the broadcast digital migration, commonly known as BDM, which is a process that is aiming to improve media services and leverage the efficiencies brought by digital broadcasting technologies. The broadcast digital migration falls within the broader digital transformation objectives of creating new possibilities and laying a foundation for new innovative products as the world, including South Africa, shifts into digital economies. As a department responsible for information and communication technology, and the full sector, we are required to spearhead the transformation of not only the sector, but the entire South African economy for the digital future. The broadcast digital migration allows the country to access the digital dividend as part of our journey towards a digital economy. Progress status of the broadcast digital migration program. The government of South Africa undertook to assist indigent households who apply for assistance with set-top box installation to ensure universal migration that does not leave anyone behind. We indicated that indigent households, those households earning a total of not more than 3,500, that register on or before the 31st of October 2021 will be connected before the analog switch off, and those who register after the 31st October 2021 will be registered between the 3 and 4 months after the switch off. As at the end of October, we recorded 48,453 new registrations, bringing the total number of registered indigent households to 1,228,879. The process of registering indigent households continues, and teams from the department, SAPO, which is the post office, and USASA are in various districts of our country to assist indigent households with registration. A total of 572,255 beneficiary households have been migrated from the current total of 1,228,879. For the month of November, over 30,000 new applications have been recorded. I've taken time to visit provinces to observe firsthand the registration drive, installation of set-top boxes, and how people are receiving digital television. I was in the Eastern Cape and the Free State in the month of October, and whereas the Deputy Minister, Honorable Mapulane, was in the Northwest. We have managed to conclude analog switch off in the Free State Province at the end of October in accordance with the plan without any blackouts. And I'm very happy to announce there was no blackouts of any household. And this Friday, the 26th November 2021, will complete the switch off of the last SABC analog site in the Northern Cape in Uppington. And I will also visit some households in Uppington to just observe again and check whether everybody is satisfied with the work that has been done. We are also on track to conclude the Northwest switch off in line with the program that we shared with you in September. In terms of analog switch off sites, Centec has been able to switch off all 84 sites of multi-choice analog transmissions. And in terms of the SABC, we have now switched off 113 out of 288 sites, which translates to 40% of the SABC's analog transmission sites. Of ETV, we have managed to switch off the switch off of 4 out of 95, which is 4%. The past month was also used to ramp up installer capacity in line with the Managed Integrated Model, or MIM, as per approved plan. Centec's installer capacity for the remaining provinces has been created, and this will intensify installations in the following months in all remaining provinces. Limpopo and Mpumalanga, we are fully ramped up, and we are on track as well, because they are the next provinces after Northern Cape and Northwest, and we are commencing with Gauteng, Eastern Cape, KZN, and Western Cape in terms of the installations. Though there were other installations that were done before, we are ramping up the installation program there, and also ramping up the household registrations with door-to-door campaigns, but also working with the local councillors who are newly elected, and the ward committees, and also the traditional leaderships in rural areas, and the civic organization in townships. While South Africa is shifting to digital, we want to ensure that we avoid dumping of analog televisions in South Africa. I am therefore in consultation with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DECO, and the International Trade Administration Commission. We are coordinating government's approach on the non-proliferation of analog TVs in the South African market. As a department, we have finalized comparisons with other countries in terms of what they did to stop the dumping of analog television as they moved into the digital television viewing. We have established and approved the aftermarket support strategy and the plan, and the objective of the aftermarket support is to ensure that registered households are supported in all languages during and after the set-top box installation process. And the existing call center within Centec will be transitioned to the aftermarket support center within the SABC. The call center is operational with contact number 0860 736 832. The number again, 0860 736 832, and the WhatsApp number is 0600 625 458. WhatsApp number again, 0600 625 458. I've established a project steering committee that is made of key stakeholders, and we continue to meet to review project progress and resolve matters escalated by the project operations structure. The analog switch-off program has been adequately resourced with human capacity and funding, and the governance structures continue to drive implementation in accordance with the approved plan. What must members of the public do to migrate? You need a set-top box installed or a digital television to migrate from analog to digital. For the indigent households, government assistance is available through registration at your nearest post office or through following a link, which is www.stbregistration.gov.za. The link again, www.stbregistration.gov.za, and this link will be available, this website will be available as from Monday 29 November 2021, that you can do online registration. SITA is also finalizing the registration link that can be used by those who are using USSD phones or what are known as feature phones, or Lipopotane in local language, or Chipori in my language. South African citizens who are still receiving television services directly from an aerial or antenna that get mounted on a pole and do not have set-top box or a smart TV set, should find themselves a set-top box or a digital TV to be able to receive digital television. A set-top box is a device that enables you to receive digital television services that they can be accessed from the South African Post Office and various retailers across the country. For the list of digital TVs or DTT compatible TVs and smart TV sets, you may call or WhatsApp the call center number. I can repeat the numbers again: 0860-736-832 and WhatsApp 0600-625-458, or visit the website of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, which is www.dcdt.gov.za, www.dcdt.gov.za. The analog switch off messages continue to scroll on analog TVs with applicable dates. Please ensure that you migrate before the set dates so that you can continue to receive television services after the switch off. Remember that if you are already connected through the DSTV or VHD, or what we commonly call OpenView in the township, StarSat and Telkom One platform, you will not be affected by the analog switch off. Should you not be eligible for government set-top box assistance and still require migration to digital, please liaise with the above mentioned broadcasters who are DSTV, OpenView, StarSat, Telkom One to arrange for your digital migration, or acquire yourself a digital television or DTT compatible television or a smart TV and get them installed in your own house. If you own a smart digital TV and live in an area that has digital network coverage, you do not need an additional decoder. To test if your TV has a digital tuner, you must just run a manual or auto channel search. Because majority of people already have TVs that are compatible, you can visit the website to check whether your TV set is compatible with a smart TV or a digital television, or you could simply go to your television, take your remote, do a search and opt for auto tune or manual tuning, and if you already have terrestrial television coverage in the area, you should be able to receive your television through the digital television services. Please continue to listen to your public and community radio stations and monitor the social media platforms of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies and its entities to get the latest information regarding the digital migration and analog switch off, or contact the call center for more information or any of the following websites. That is the www.gov.za, that's the government website, www.dcdt.gov.za, that is the website of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, or www.centec.co.za, who are the signal distributor of the country, or www.usasa.org.za, who are the Universal Access Service Provider Agency of the country, or www.sapo.co.za, the postal office, which is also responsible for the registration, or www.sabc.co.za, who are our public broadcaster. I also would like to remind South Africans to continue to exercise precautions for COVID-19 so that we minimize the recurrence of the virus. The numbers are starting to spike up. Please continue to wear your mask and sanitize and observe social distances. But also, we are appealing to all South Africans to go and vaccinate. Also allow your children above the ages of 12 years of age to go and vaccinate so that we can reach the necessary population immunity to protect our country, but to protect our economy as part of protecting our livelihoods. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for the briefing, the message, and the messages were loud and clear. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to get into the interactive session, which is the second part of our program, where we are going to invite members of the media who are present here today to put questions to the panel, and we will also reach out to other colleagues who are members of the media fraternity who are connected via the virtual platforms for them to also pose questions that may be clarity seeking, or for the panel here to provide additional information. Minister, the briefing is taking place on the eve of one important day in the calendar of our country, where we are soon going to observe the 16 days. It is a reminder to all of us out there to take note. It is something that we always talk about in the context of placing emphasis during the 16 days, but this should be part of our everyday life. Without any further waste of time, let me check by a show of hand members of the media who are present here whether or not there is appetite in putting questions. I see a hand. As it is customary during briefings of this nature, there's a second hand. As it is customary during briefings of this nature, I almost sounded like somebody who's conducting an auction. We are going to request members of the media to be brief and concise with their questions. They put their questions to the panel. The minister will exercise her discretion as to whether she is going to respond to that question or to redirect the response thereof to the project lead, who is also present here. We also acknowledge the presence of the acting director general, who is also within our midst here today. So you will identify yourself and put a question or two, mindful that there may be other reporters who may also would like to make use of this opportunity to put questions. I will start with the gentleman there at the back, and then he will be followed by a branded gentleman. I think he's from E! News. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Next question.
From EMCA, the first one will be a little bit longer, but I'll try to shorten it here. In the presentation during the portfolio committee, I think the projected date for the analog switch off is the 31st of January 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I'm subject to correction. Or let's say the end of January 2022. Now, given the fact that the SABC has concluded one province and then they are about 25% in terms of their network and their work around the net, other free-to-air broadcasters have not begun that much. Now, furthermore to that, we know for a fact that the signal distributor has announced that there is a network freeze, I think from the 17th of December to the 10th of January. How is that date then achievable? We need to look at all those aspects of it. But let's talk about what you mentioned, Minister, the issue of indigent homes that will hopefully be subsidized. But what will happen to the rest of about 86% of households and TV households? How are they going to be catered for? And also bearing in mind that there are reports about the global shortage of chipsets and set-top boxes. The third one, the manufacturers, of course, of set-top boxes have said that they will not be able to meet the demand that is out there. How then will you avoid to a situation where my household will lose access to free-to-air television? I'll come back later for the second part.
Thank you, Spamandla. Any other question from the reporters who are in this forum, in this house with us? As the minister is going to respond to these questions, let me just give an assurance to members of the media that we are going to share or distribute the script. There shouldn't be a sense of restlessness. The statement will be shared with the rest of the media. My colleagues will see to it that we distribute the script. I think the questions are there. Mr. Goge, you thought you were asking 3 questions.
come back later for more information.
Thank you for the questions. At least today, I'll do less of the responding. The questions go to the technical, to the project manager, Mr. Ntshavheni. And I must indicate that in Free State, the TV viewing experience has been magnificent. I went into households that I've not thought they would be happy. And the other TV sets were even older than me when we went there, but the pictures, the reception, and all the channels that we said would be there, they were there, and in all that. And we thought when we switched off, and we worried because the date was the date of the elections, we thought when we switched off there would be a spike of callers to complain about access, because we even did the messaging in the local language to make sure that they could read the flyers in their own language. But there were no spikes in calls. We asked the councillors, the local councillors, to, when they were doing door-to-door, that in the areas to just go verify on the installed households whether there were questions. There were no questions. Everybody was still happy. But also what was very telling is that majority of the indigent households also have DTT compliant television. So when you get there, you find that you say, but why do you have a set-top box when you already have this TV? They said, no, when you started to communicate, we had already applied, but the old TV was hit by lightning, and then we bought a new TV, which is DTT compliant. And we did the testing, and we wish you were with us to just see the experience for yourself. And initially the officials, and I'm going to tell, and I told them I'm going to disclose, they're chosen households. So I said I don't want chosen households because it's managed. We then went into streets and went into each house, and because you could see the aerial outside, we went in so that you don't get a bubbled up picture of a filtered picture of reality. I wanted to have a life experience. So we've now learned, they've now learned that they cannot manage what I see. I want to experience the real thing, and they cannot determine even the streets. I'll pick the street in the morning or during the day as I get there, so that I have the real experience. But also the partnerships with the councillors. I'm hoping the new councillors that have just taken office across the country will work with us, like the former councillors were working with us on monitoring and following up with the indigent households, and also escalating the problems as they arose to make sure that they are fixed rapidly. In terms, you've asked again in terms of how much are we spending on awareness. It's very dangerous to government to disclose how much we are spending in awareness. So I will not want to set myself a trap, because I can say an amount now, and tomorrow we have to ramp up and increase the amount. They say, but you said you're spending this and the amount is changed. What I can indicate that we are doing a whole lot of work with the public broadcaster, with the community radios, with advertising, but also with the message scrolling, but also at community level with the traditional leadership, and also with community meetings. We're doing a whole lot on public awareness, because if we don't intensify that, we do not know who we are going to miss. And now that we've got a new round of councillors after the elections, we'll have to go back to the provinces and rework again with the SALGA and the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Leadership, and the local municipalities, but also the MECs responsible for local government, to make sure that we workshop the local councillors and the new ward committees that are going to be appointed to help us intensify the awareness and also help us with the feedback. But there is enough. And I can proudly say we are not asking for additional money from the fiscus even for next year. We are going to cover enough to cover everybody who has been planned for. And you asked again, how are we going to prevent the installers from scrupulous installers from duping old people? That's why we use a registration process. We're saying for the indigent households, nobody should just walk to you. You are going to be informed that this is the person who's going to come to you. That's why you go through a process of registration, because we also, part of the aftermarket support, we need to be able to follow up that Tsepo Mungwa is the one who installed at the house of Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, because if Tsepo did not install properly, Tsepo must go and fix the mess that would have created. So that's why the process of registration comes in, and that's why we assign installers. So it's not anybody, and I'm glad you have raised that question. People should not just walk in and say this, we are doing this. The ones who walk in and say we are doing this, they are the ones who have properly checked with SAPO and Centec and USASA, and they'll have proper identification. Other installers, they come through when we have been informed that they're coming through. That's why we need the contact details of the people. We are also working with SAPO. We've worked with SAPO to make sure that we also verify the fiscal addresses, as SAPO is the custodian of fiscal addresses of the country. Spamandla, you raised a few questions. Some of them are technical, so I'll leave the technical ones to the project manager to deal with, and then I'll deal with the political ones. The first one that you dealt with is the question around what was said in Parliament to say this the 31st of January 2021 as the ISO date. No, the 31st January 2021 is the date we have planned to complete all the SABC sites. We are still going to announce the ISO date, the analog switch-off date. In terms of the target, the President during the State of the Nation address set us a target of the 31st March 2022. So that is the date that we are working towards. And you'll ask, because you know that you said ETV has not commenced. ETV has commenced. And even now, ETV continues to participate in the project steering committee and the project teams meetings, all of them. Because we are trying to work with ETV. ETV was not accepting our ISO plan. We said, give us your alternative plan. They've given us the plans, which are not, unfortunately, they could not work for a number of reasons. And we have now reached a stage where we say, go and talk to this one, go and talk to this one, to make sure that we can get a plan. We've sent them now to the regulator, ICASA, because on frequency management is the responsibility of ICASA. I must just indicate that also ETV has considered that there is no more analog technology, analog components that are manufactured across the world. So it will be very difficult for Centec to be able to acquire analog components to maintain the analog frequencies or analog transmission. So it's not possible to perpetuate analog. If anything happens to the transmitters now, the analog transmitters, and when I received the letters from Centec when they informed me to say, Minister, this is what we are confronted with, all the manufacturers, I'm sure the project manager will indicate, all the manufacturers, they're saying our last stock was in 2015. So I'm scared where I am, and that's why we're now committed to ramp up the program more effectively, because if Lightning decides to scrap all the analog transmitters of the country, we'll have a blackout. Because the Centec can do whatever, but without the components they cannot fix. So that's the reality we're faced with. And ETV, we are working with them on what is the plan that is suitable to them. And I just want to assure the country, by the way, wherever ETV transmitters are there, the SABC transmitters will be. And we are confident that it took Centec, I think, just over 2 months to switch off the 84 sites of MNET. So the remaining sites of ETV, if they have to be switched off over, because there is a case in court, if they have to be switched off over 2 months, we can tell you that technically Centec has the capacity to achieve the switch off date. So that's where we are. And you spoke about the 36% of the non-indigent households who don't qualify for government support. And we have said, that's why we have, in my statement even today, even the previous statement, we have indicated that they need to get themselves the TV sets that are compliant so that they can migrate. They need to get themselves the set-top boxes that are, okay, let me use the term decoder, but it's still the same thing, set-top boxes, either OpenView, which is ETV, or DSTV, or Telkom. Telkom One, that to get and Starset so that they can migrate. But there are TV sets, if they don't want to buy decoders, there are TV sets that are available that they don't need a decoder. They simply need an aerial and buy the relevant TV. And we have indicated that they'll find the list on the website of the department, I'm sure even on the website of the other agencies that we are working with. So we are not worried about the 36%. What I'd like to remind South Africans is that this digital migration is not starting today. The message has gone across. That's why even the numbers, even with the cut-off date that we put through, the numbers, we thought the numbers will ramp up. I remember in a matter of just 8 days, I did 19 radio stations, including community radio stations in 11 languages that I could speak. There are 2 languages that, unfortunately, I'm not like the president. I could not speak, but they did the translation. But in 9 official languages, I carried the message through, and they were repeated. Even today, they continue to be repeated on all those stations, both community and the public radio stations. but the numbers are just not going up. Even when we have teams that are on the ground, the numbers are not going up for two reasons. 11 million South Africans are already watching TV through satellite, and the others are watching TV through DTT compliant television set. So there's no need for them to register. So, and the problem is that, and I've indicated even previously, that analog technology is dumb technology or stupid technology. So with that, we are not able to trace which household has what. So we can't tell you who's watching TV on analog because we don't have that ability. But when we move everybody else, that's why we want to go into the smart technologies to watch that. Then you spoke about the issues of the manufacturers. I can just introduce the matter, and the project manager will then take over. We have manufacturers in the country who we met with them, and the project manager met with them. They confirmed in writing, both verbally and in writing, to say they have enough chipsets to cover for the demand of this country, even for extra demand. We've introduced them to broadcasters, and we said the arrangements must be done with the commercial with the commercial broadcasters themselves, so that we should not get involved. Our duty was to make sure that we secure the manufacturing capacity in the country, and we've done so, and they've committed that they have enough chipsets that will be required for everybody in the country. Of course, commercial broadcasters will have their arrangements that they buy from wherever. We cannot be involved with that. Our responsibility is to make sure the manufacturers in this country have capacity, and so that nobody will say, I could not buy because there was no manufacturing capacity. There is capacity in this country, and that capacity is being revved up in line with our ramping up of the migration. With that, I'll hand over to the project manager, Mr. Lishope, to take over the technical questions.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you, colleagues, for the questions. Minister, I'm afraid you've actually, in some cases, also addressed the technical questions, but I will augment on the questions raised by the colleagues. Tsepo from the SABC, raising a question in terms of experience. The digital migration in its nature improves the experience, the viewer's experience. The quality going out to the viewer is much greater than that of analog. The number of channels that we are incorporating in a digital platform far exceeds that of analog. So during the visitations in these provinces that we have been to, there is a great sense of appreciation that the digital platform is bringing in terms of quality and scale of the services. And then how much are we spending allotment? This one, we can confirm that we have adequate human resources driving the awareness. There is adequate funding for the creating awareness campaign from the time that the project started to the completion of the project. So we are adequately covered in terms of the awareness campaign program there. To avoid installers charging households outside the processes, what we have done recently is to establish a structure, we call it the aftermarket support, wherein any installation is covered under warranty. So we are communicating to viewers out there that should a STV or an installation go faulty within a period of 24 months, they need to contact the call center. The installation is covered and has warranty for continuity of service. And we are exploring alternatives to see how we can further continue that. There are positive conversations in this regard. We take interest to ensure that the services continue and it is of good quality at all times. And then the Mr. Sipamandla Goge's questions. In terms of the remaining number of sites for the SABC, I think you're mentioning 25. It is 40% actually of the total that we have switched off. And where we are looking at the capacity in terms of the installed capacity, number of set-top boxes that we have, the number of registered households, we're quite comfortable that we will be able to switch off the remaining site. The increase in installations is quite positive. The number of registrations has improved. We are anticipating an average of about 50,000 month-to-month new registrations. And doing our leveling of capacity, both set-top boxes, both installer capacity against the number of registrations, where we are today, we're quite comfortable that we will be able to install all the registered households. The issue of network freeze, the communicated network freeze by Centec targets to limit the changes on new core technology deployment that they communicate to the broadcasters. But in terms of physical installations of set-top boxes, we are going to continue with installing set-top boxes on the ground. In fact, we're targeting December and January because that is where most of the people are at home. As you understand that people are during the other time committed to work and the likes. And as and when we reach those thresholds, we will switch off the sites there. The global chipsets, based on the numbers that we are looking at, Pamandla, registered households, also linked to the confirmation by local manufacturers of set-top boxes, we are not concerned about the shortage now. Even based on the number of confirmed orders by broadcasters out there, the capacity that we have actually exceeds where we're sitting right now. The numbers announced by the minister far exceeds what has been registered in terms of the households. It may increase. We will adjust, of course, our input in that regard. But the model itself, it's a collaboration model where we're leveraging the broadcasters' capacity, the Centec capacity in terms of installations of set-top boxes. So the issue of chipset is not a big issue where we sit in right now, and we do have alternative mitigations as well based on the local capacity of installations to actually meet the number of registered households where we are sitting right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leshope. Mr. Gog, before we return to here, let me check with my colleagues as to whether or not there are any questions from our online platforms. We have none. We have none. I return to this forum. Yes, Mr. Goge, over to you.
Minister, you mentioned the cost of this. Of course, we know that it's financially strapped with money, asking for 8 billion. The new finance minister has said that that's not going to happen. Are you worried about the state of the post office in this process of digital migration, the capacity and the financial spending of the institutions? But also number 2, generally speaking about the post office, what will it take to have it fixed once and for all? Also about the date, the final date, yes, the president did allude to something along the end of March 2022, but this matter has been long standing. Taking into account that the initial date that was projected was somewhere in 2011, that deadline was missed, and another one in 2015 was missed. We are going for the third one now in 2022. Are you hopeful that once and for all this project is concluded come the end of March 2022? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goge. Any other questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Mwai. Thank you, Mr. Mwai. Minister.
Thank you, Spamandla, once more for the questions and Tsepo. I'll address the second question in terms of viewership. Understand that television viewing is not only in South Africa happening on one platform. So you have a multitude of platforms, the satellite platform as an alternative, there are terrestrial platforms as an alternative. There's also online, the OTTs as an alternative. The Minister earlier highlighted that we already have 76% of South African viewers or citizens already self-migrated onto satellite. So we're dealing with a far lesser issue in terms of access to media alternative, Tsepo. And then in terms of the viewership, the process impacting on, we do not switch off before we have installed. So the process of installation precedes the actual switch off of site. So we install set-top boxes to ensure we have the highest number of connectivity to the digital platform before we switch off analog. In that way, we believe we will retain viewership on the terrestrial platform, augmented by the other alternative platforms, the platforms that I mentioned earlier, that of satellite, OTT, and others. Our Minister will touch on the SAPO issue and close. Thank you.
Thank you, Teboho. You know the problem of engineer speaking. He spoke on engineering terms, on viewership issues. I don't know if Tsepo, you got what he means. So the process that they follow is that when they get to a site, SABC, for instance, will know how many viewers come through on that site. So they connect for that site, because that's why each transmission site has a number. And then, because we are switching off the SABC signs off to say, we are happy that in terms of these connections, you have reached the threshold. Is it over 80% of all the people who were watching from there? They must be connected before a plan to switch off even takes place. That's why we are not worried about losing viewership through the migration. That's what he was explaining in simple English. He's an engineer, so he tends to speak on technical terms. Then there was a question that was sent earlier to the media team by Jan from My Broadband, isn't it? Jan from My Broadband, who says, please give an update regarding the court case brought by ETV to interdict the analog switch off. We must clarify, I'm not a lawyer. ETV is not interdicting the analog switch off. ETV is challenging that the plan may not be realistic and the other things that they're challenging. That's why there's no stop of the analog, of the broadcast digital migration. And also ETV continues to participate in the process because they know that digital migration must take place. ETV is not in denial that digital migration should not take place. The difference between them and us is the period that we are taking. And I think we will find each other at some point and get a plan that will get everybody to come through. That's why they are in court. They are not interdicting anything. The case is set for the first week of February in 2022, and we are ready for that. We have filed papers, we have exchanged papers, and there are no animosities between us. It's part of what we are entitled to as South Africans. To when we can't agree, we also go to court to be the final arbiter. But what is good between ourselves and ETV is that we continue to engage, to find common ground and to find a solution, and to also work towards the digital migration, and ETV is contributing also towards that digital migration. Then there was so I'm not coming back to the question of confidence here, it has been dealt with. Then there was a question around the post office. They are not asking for 8 billion. They have asked for 1.8 billion. We need to get the facts right. 1.8 billion, not 8 billion. There was a number of 8 billion bandied around, but they were saying because of what they've contributed to building the post bank, and they needed to get value from that because it was just transferred. When you build a subsidiary, somebody must buy it from them. And then you asked the question to say, am I worried about a post office as it relates to the digital migration program, no, I'm not worried about post office as it relates to digital migration program. Am I worried about the state where the post office finds itself? Yes, I am worried about that state. And then what are we doing to make sure the post office gets on top of their game? We have worked with the post office through their board to approve what is called a post office SAPO of tomorrow. And in terms of SAPO of tomorrow, there are various alternatives that are being put in place to make sure that SAPO can turn back, including maximizing, because they are not monetizing businesses which they can monetize, but also including taking back the post offices, instead of renting properties, to go back to the properties that they own. And we are looking at mechanisms of how do we support them to go back to those properties where they own, because they have a strong reach. But post office also plays a critical role in making sure the postal services or courier services are delivered. But we all are aware that there have been challenges of leveraging and packages not arriving on time. We are working with the management of the post office on that. There are alternatives they are considering, and before I even get in trouble, because we have not gone to cabinet, but the board of post office has approved, they are looking at mechanisms of saying, how do they empower the employees of post office to take ownership of some of the businesses that could be run better and more efficiently than with a big organization? But those discussions, they must continue to engage with the unions. And so that is not a rumor. They had tabled to the department, and that's why we sent them back and said, give us a different strategy. They tabled that they wanted to retrench 6,000 people. We said to them, there are options before you consider retrenchment in terms of within the post office what can be done, and they are looking at that. We are going to go to cabinet with the post office of tomorrow strategy, and when it's approved, the deputy minister, and I'll support him, will come and present it to the nation, because he is designated to handle the post office. It needs a serious chaperone, so he is a full-time chaperone on the post office matter, because he cannot remove his eyes from it. He meets with the post office weekly to check the progress, so that what has been committed to is undertaken. When we met with the unions, they've indicated that there have been so many bailouts that were granted to the post office, but they were never used for what is intended. So part of the DM's focus is to make sure that whatever resources we're trying to raise and whatever targets we've set ourselves through the board of the post office are achieved, and we have tracked. And if there's non-achievement, there will be consequences for non-achievement of those. And we believe that if we, with our focused approach on it and our hands-on management of the post office, or hands-on supervision of the post office, we should get the post office right during this lifetime, during this term of office. And we are confident that we are continuing to engage with the National Treasury, not on the bailout, but on what are the mechanisms that can be done within the fiscus to support the post office, including other options that I'll need cabinet approval first before I can even say them in the public. So that is where we are. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your presence, and thank you for communicating the message of digital migration out there. That will be the last question, Spa, and I'm going to take the question. That's one question, because we cannot be here forever.
I was reminding you, Minister, that the second one has not responded to the final stage. And are you confident that since the 2011 date, 2015, those dates were not met? Are you confident about that coming? I'm reminding you.
Thank you for that reminder. That's why we're committed to monthly briefings to the public, and that's why we give you the progress. So far, we are doing well. The target Free State done, Northern Cape done, Northwest going to be done, and so what? You cannot blame us now. Allow us to. We are on track. We are on the roll. So the dates are coming through. So watch the space. And with the January and March dates, we've given ourselves enough room to play. If we miss slightly January, we should be able to do it on the SABC in February. But we are on the roll now. We are on target, and we are ramping up. So we are fully confident that this time around we are getting it right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the minister has indicated, those were the last comments for this briefing session, and that brings our proceedings to an end. Thank you very much for being in attendance.